Hi everyone. This is part 2 of my discussion with Mr. Varun Bhardwaj, who is a botanist. The title of the video is Science of Connectivity. We've already had part 1 of the discussion where we discussed about our connection with fellow human beings and also our connection with plants and the environment in general, and how post-pandemic we have all found our own unique ways to connect with our environment. If you have not gone through the video, the link is attached and you can go through it. This is part 2 of our discussion. I really hope you like it. Thank you.
So welcome
Fantastic.
back for part 2.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So just continuing with the point that we left on reconnecting back. What I felt post pandemic about the connection, and this is something that was such a um, prolonged period of suffering that I felt that, again, coming back to us connecting as a species together, suddenly everything that you were holding on to, previously, the negativity, or maybe you've had a fight with someone, you don't share a good relation with your neighbors or with your relatives, it all seemed so insignificant at that moment where someone is really suffering, someone is really hurt, or someone has passed away. And I've seen it that in personally also, I connected back to so many people, maybe with whom I was not in touch with anymore, people with whom you know I was not sharing a very good relationship with earlier. But because of this whole pandemic situation, we connected back. And, everything that happened in the past, it didn't make any sense anymore. It was all valueless. It didn't hold any value because what was happening was more important. Like, you needed to focus on that and you needed to be there for each other as friends, as family, as, just human being, right? And suddenly, when the pandemic ended, you're back to your normal life. You're back to office, college. All those insignificant things again started creeping back. Like you connect as a species when you're in danger, and then suddenly, when that danger lifts, the news has also changed on the television, right? When initially the news were like, you have to stand together, you're motivating each other and everything, and then now the news has also changed, catch up, all the
Yeah.
iska doggy ho gaya wo ho gaya like it's not news, it's just stupidity.
I think nothing brings people together, human beings
Hmm.
together, more than a common shared idea. I was
Right.
talking in a previous video about common shared experiences,
Hmm.
and I feel that more than anything, brings people together is an idea that can hold people together. So whilst we were under lockdown, whilst the COVID pandemic was rampaging across our population, our primary concern for most of the people was to survive and to, well, to float on the raft that was that they saw themselves on, and just ride the wave of COVID, wave after wave, quite literally wave after wave. And that sort of created a solidarity. I think that we can call it that, a great
Right.
solidarity amongst fellow human beings. I mean, there are countless examples of people doing, probably the most selfless acts, ever recorded in human history. To the extent that there was this great example of one Sikh uncle that used to service the crematorium during the pandemic, by sort of helping the helping the families cremate the bodies of their loved ones. especially for those who couldn't come because the pandemic was so
Yeah,
was
it was
was
peak.
such a was at such a peak at that point that
Hmm.
the family simply couldn't come. So
Yeah.
what I mean, to ask what sort of what sort of situation or what kind of conditions compels a human being to do such acts of selfless behavior is simply
Hmm.
that there was just this one common idea that we all need to survive and that we all are, so to speak, in the same boat.
Yeah,
If it had
definitely.
been that everybody thought that it's every man for himself or every person for himself, and that we're all in the different rafts that
Hmm.
the ocean might swept, and the ocean might have swept us away, but that didn't happen because there are always people who think that it's always the same boat and we have to keep it afloat somehow or the
Yeah.
other.
It,
um yeah, sorry, you were saying
it, it
something.
it felt like a it felt like that whole Harry Potter movie coming into reality, where the whole wizard community was together fighting against that one evil. And it didn't matter what what age you are in, what position you're working, whether you're a professor, whether you're a student, doesn't matter who is what. It's just everyone together. You're mourning also, because there were people dying, there were characters leaving, and there were families getting broken. But still, everyone stuck together. And even someone as evil as Malfoy, he also
Mhm.
came together. And, he also was like, no, I need to, some humanity was there. So even in that situation, it felt like it's humans against this one evil that has
Yeah,
attacked us.
yeah. I think, yeah. So if whenever there's an issue of great import, every other issue becomes, non-significant.
Yeah.
The issue itself supersedes, everything else, and that, people who might have had, competing interests, earlier, just join hands and come together for this one
Mm,
large endeavor that
mm,
has to be, all participatory or we all lose. So
mm.
yeah, we've had countless examples throughout the history. Although in recent memory, there have been quite a, I mean, not so many, but yeah, this pandemic all show is it's very funny. When I talk about this pandemic, because of the nature of the disease, it sort of isolated each and every person on this planet to a certain degree because they had to
Mm, mm.
maintain a certain distance because the virus was airborne. But it also, in some sense of the word, brought all of us together because of the common suffering that each and every one of us had to go through. So yeah, and of course it made us think of ways to connect, other than physical means,
Yeah,
be it conducting businesses or be it teaching, for example. A large part of the entire teaching exercise moved from the classroom to our laptop screens that we so now enjoy.
yeah,
Internet speeds shot up, and well, we people made the most of it,
yeah.
really. So
Like, suddenly I felt that, like I was mentioning before, I am somebody who has never, ever been interested in nature. Like,
mm,
I'll be very honest. I have not been someone who has been like, अच्छा चलो पार्क चलते हैं या पहाड़ों में जाके बैठ I नहीं नहीं no, let's do something fun. This is not fun for me. But the more I started going back to the basics, like you go back to learning how to plant a seed, you learn how to just sit in silence in that park and breathe, and if not meditate. Like, I am somebody who is following Buddhism, and I like to meditate, I like to chant. But I've never done it in a park, where it's absolutely silent, where you're sitting in between the, like in between the sounds of the birds chirping, the wind is blowing, and you can feel that very, very nice air around you. For the first time, I realized that, why maybe people from our grandparents' generation, they encouraged you that, beta, walk pe jaya karo. सुबह उठ, like, wake up in the morning. Not because कि 5 बजे उठ के घर पे बैठना है, like go out, play, do something, go into the nature, do go for a round, go for a run, go for a walk, something like that. And so many people went for a holiday to the mountains, right? You wanted to be in a place where the nature is
Yeah.
around you, right? You wanted to just absorb that beauty, right? And that is something that, at least, like personally, that transformation has happened. That, I enjoy the process of a walk in the park so much more than before. That, I read somewhere that, connecting to plants and connecting to the nature can release dopamine in a human being.
Certainly,
Just
yeah.
like connecting to, like, dopamine. Just for the record, for people who might not know, would you like to explain what it does? Like,
Well, so dopamine is one of the chemicals that is well, a chemical that functions in the brain, is particularly associated with the feeling of satisfaction and
pleasure,
happiness,
happiness,
pleasure and
happiness. Yeah,
happiness. So
yeah.
well, uh, I mean, I'm no expert, but certainly there are certain activities, that a person can do during the day that, makes them feel satisfied and happy. And one of those is certainly, and it has been shown,
Hmm.
conclusively,
Hmm.
is to, go outside and have a walk in the park, or,
Hmm.
be amongst the natural elements, the sound of the waterfalls, the wind, the chirping of the birds, all this increases our dopamine and serotonin levels in our brains, and that sort of translates into a better mood.
One second.
In some
What
people.
else did you say? Serotonin.
Serotonin, yes, serotonin is another one of those chemicals that
Okay.
is
That
part of
this one
that
I didn't know.
yeah, interplay. There's an interplay between serotonin and dopamine in the brain, and they are, you know, collectively responsible for satisfaction and happiness.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure an endocrinologist would be a better person to explain how and the how they do it. But for the short answer, that there are basically two primary chemicals. There
Hmm.
are others as well. I mean, again, you can talk to an expert about that. But yeah, as far as plants are concerned, they've been shown to release certain volatile compounds that increase serotonin and dopamine levels in our brain,
Yeah.
which means that being amongst plants and forming an intimate connection with them can help elevate mood and even to a certain degree prevent depression, which
Hmm.
is one of the major mental health issues that is coming up rapidly amongst the urbanized population, because they don't go out as much as they used to. They
Yeah.
most of them are working from their home, and they find themselves sort of caged in that small room, or maybe their
It's
homes.
like you've created your own little island in
Yeah,
this whole world. Like, you're surrounded by people, but you're still lonely, you're still alone, right? So do
yeah.
you do you also go out for a walk, or like do you also
Well,
take
yeah,
a
of
walk?
course. I mean, yeah, because you see, the more you feel that you're on an island, the more isolated you feel from the world, the worse it's going to be, probably, because
Hmm.
human beings have this a well a what's the word for it? I'd say human beings like to be like to think that they're part of something bigger. I think that's the best way I can put it in words, that they don't like to feel that they are just one being or just one entity, but rather they like to feel as if they're part of this huge system that, is a sort of like a living, breathing organism in itself. So there's this one hypothesis known as a Gaia hypothesis, which states that, each and every living being on this earth is part of this one large superorganism, and
Uh,
that the connections that we have with, each other, and as well as for with other species, is all part of that same, like a body, like a body of an animal has connections between the cells, and the different parts and the organs,
it's like
much
the
like that.
unfathomable nature of life is something that fascinates us, and it makes you feel a certain level of s- um, you know, something that makes you feel more superior than other species, that you're a part of something much more bigger and
No, I don't
significant.
think that. No. I don't think I agree. I mean,
No?
just because we can fathom that connection we have with, each and every species, and that inhabits this earth, it doesn't make us superior in any other way.
No, no.
It
I'm
just,
not saying that it makes us superior. I'm saying
yeah.
that the thought that, you're a part of something bigger, which is unfathomable, that
Mhm.
makes you feel that, you are more superior than, you as a species or as an entity is, you're much more bigger than
Oh, yeah.
other. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so you're much more than what you are. I mean,
Yeah.
so if the entire earth is a machine and you are just one spinning cog in it, it sort of feels that you're part of something that is much more complex and much more, uh, you know unfathomable, like you said. And that feeling is something that sometimes alleviates all those, blues that we have about our daily life routines, and the problems and the challenges that we have, that, in the context of the entire universe, the problems that we face on a day-to-day basis seem really insignificant. uh, and I think that's something that we should, I think, ponder upon more, if, if time permits us. I mean, because I think we have, for the most part, a very difficult and a very busy life schedule nowadays. Hardly any time to, take rest, and, have, reflect upon certain things, which we
So
should, I think.
okay, so I'll just share what I do to, as a part of whatever I shared in this conversation. Uh, what I personally do to connect, to stay connected with the people and with my environment is of course, try reaching out to more people on a daily basis. Just a very genuine how are you doing type of a message, not just what's up, okay, okay, bye. Not that, but like really reaching out. But what I am trying to really change in my lifestyle, or just my day to day routine is you know a going out for a walk or some form of activity that makes me feel connected to my environment. And it is also a moment, or that 20 minutes or those 30 minutes is also a time where I feel most connected to my own self. And that is something that is very, very new for me. That, there's so much that goes inside you on a regular basis. You're thinking too much, you are absorbing too much from your environment, from your surrounding. Some things get processed, some don't. Some healing happens, some healing doesn't happen. So that little time that I spend with myself is the point where I really try to reflect upon my own life, what I am doing, what I am trying to do, because there's a lot of self reflection that is important for your own well being. Like, we talk so much about mental health and we talk so much about keeping yourself fit, but it's so important for us to process like everything that's happening. It has a conscious or a subconscious effect on us. And the time from when I have started this process of self reflection, I feel that a lot of toxicity from my life has been eliminated, because it's like a baggage that you keep uh, you know piling upon your own shoulders, and you don't realize that it has taken up so much of your mental space that you don't, because you don't process things. You're like, baad mein dekh lenge, baad mein kar lenge type. We just keep going on. And that's what I have been trying to do, to really process and have some self reflection, that reality check, that this is what I am, this is who I am, this is where I am. So would you like to
Well,
share what do you do on a daily basis to maybe connect to your own self or to your environment? Because you're someone who's so connected to the nature, or your profession is already something that is making you, some way or the other, work on it. So, but apart from work, on a personal level, just I'm curious to know, what do you do?
well, nothing out of the blue or ordinary, nothing extraordinary actually. I just like to, like all other, everybody else, just go out and take a walk in the park. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what, how that helps me is that it helps me recalibrate my sense of self. Like we were talking about earlier, that that we sometimes feel so bogged down by our own daily mishaps and troubles that we forget that we are part of this larger system, this complex interconnected web of life, that it it's sort of relieving to a certain degree to think that it's not just that you're not just part of your own story, but rather a part of the story of the earth itself, which it has which is sort of continued to exist and will exist even after long after you're gone. I don't know, it's so, in an odd sort of way, it's very relieving, because that sort of makes your own life problems a little, you know very little in by comparison. So a recalibration of a sense of self brings real peace to my mind on a daily basis. And so that's what I do. Just go out, sit, walk a bit, sit down, and just breathe and see, just listen to whatever's happening around me. Because more often than not, when you step out of your own mind, you come to realize that you're also stepping into others. Sometimes you can
Yeah.
hear all sort of you can hear conversations, what people are having, how their lives could be. And it's all sort of feeling, to think that people around you do have, in fact, lives just as complex as yours.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's oddly empowering. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it. It's oddly
Yeah.
empowering when I see someone going through something so similar than what I am doing. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I think there's much more that we need to learn about human connections, and explore different avenues of it,
yeah.
because there are certain avenues of empathy that we don't know how they happen and why, how they take place neurologically. So from a purely strictly scientific point of view, we know very little about our own emotions, that perhaps psychologists can sort of team up with psychiatrists and neuroscientists to investigate what goes on in the brain when a person feels for a person, and feels the way the other person feels. It might be
I think
interesting to.
what might be also interesting, I don't know whether studies have been done on it or not, but I would be very interested to know that, if how do plants empathize with each other? Like, do they, like, if there's a plant that dies, are the other plants mourning it? Do they feel it?
I mean,
Or,
not that we know of, but
yeah,
I mean, there's an excellent book by Dr. Susan Simard known as The Secret Life of Trees. And
okay.
in it, she talks about, I mean, not death per se, but rather how, the mama tree actually provides nutrition for the saplings, her saplings that, are growing in the nearby vicinity. And that
Okay.
is through, as discussed previously, by the root system
Mm,
and the fungal mycelia that interconnect them. So, yeah, I mean, plants don't mourn in that strict emotional sense like we humans do, or some of the animals like elephants do,
mm,
but they do have some sort of sense into what goes on to making a species more well, more fitter, from a purely Darwinian point of view. I don't know. Maybe we too evolved these emotions to, well, stick together. And as the saying goes, that apes that stick together live longer. So probably
right.
we also developed emotions along those lines. But well, I think that now that we started understanding them, they've come to be much more than just purely survival. I think it's a worthy avenue to explore. Yeah.
Great. So I think we can wrap up our conversation for today. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining. Uh,
Pleasure, pleasure. Always a pleasure,
I've
and thank you for having me.
I've definitely know much more about plants now, and there's a lot more to know. Maybe we can come up with something more specific to plants in the future. But thank you so much for sharing your views and your thoughts on this conversation. I think it was really really meaningful, like very very educational also for me, I think, in some ways. Someone is not from a core science background, this is very good.
Yeah, I'm glad, and I really thoroughly enjoyed our talk today. It was well, it was enlightening for me too in certain aspects. I mean, I did not per se really give much thought to the human connection, from that direction, and well, I think while our discussion was going on about connections, why I did ponder a bit about how humans form connections with well, inanimate objects too. I mean, we all have things that we own that we have emotional connect towards, and no matter what happens, we would never throw them away because they have some importance in our lives. And I mean, so that means that we don't really just form connections with living beings, but also inanimate objects, and
Yeah,
pretty much everything that's around us.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like our house, we all love our house.
Yeah, of course. Love our house, yeah. Yeah. And that sense of belonging only comes when you sleep in your own bed, doesn't it?
Oh yes, some people can't sleep, somewhere else. We change the location, they find it very difficult to
Oh,
sleep.
I am one of them. I'm certainly one of them. I really have trouble sleeping, in whenever I visit different cities, any other place. Even my friend's place is not as comfortable as my own bed. So
Of
yeah,
course.
that sense of belonging does really take, strong hold. Although I've seen people get used to it. I mean,
Mm,
people like, especially in outstation students who are, studying in different states of India, they come to grips with the thing,
yeah,
and they maybe basically feel that wherever they are, that's what they call home. So that
yeah.
idea of home does, takes different shapes and forms.
All right. Thank you so much, Varun. I think I'll wrap it up now.